My stepdad laughed when he locked the basement door. The sound of the deadbolt sliding into place echoed through the concrete room like a gunshot. "Let's see if that little toy watch saves you now," he said through the door. Then his footsteps walked away, heavy, slow, confident, like he knew no one was coming. 12 hours later, the police were breaking down our front door, and the smartwatch he'd spent months mocking was the only reason I was still alive. But to understand how it got that far, you need to understand my stepdad and the kind of house I grew up in. I was 17 when my mom married Greg. Before that, life had been quiet, not perfect, but peaceful. My real dad had died when I was 10. Car accident, rainy highway. One of those things people say just happens. For 6 years, it had just been me and my mom. Small house, normal jobs, normal life. Then Greg appeared. He met my mom at the gym. He was loud, confident, the kind of man who walked into every room like he owned it. At first, he seemed charming. He brought flowers, fixed things around the house, paid for dinners. My mom hadn't smiled that much in years. So when she said they were getting married after 8 months, I tried to be supportive. I really did. But there was something about him that never felt right. It started small. Little comments. "You're still wearing that cheap watch? Kids these days think gadgets make them smart." He'd say it while looking at my wrist. The smartwatch. My dad had given it to me on my 15th birthday. It wasn't expensive. Just a basic one with fitness tracking, GPS, and emergency features. But it meant something to me. Greg hated it. Or maybe he hated that I liked it. Every time I checked the time, he'd laugh. "Look at him talking to his robot wrist." Or, "Careful, that thing might explode if it gets wet." He said stuff like that constantly. At first, I ignored it. But Greg didn't like being ignored. He liked reactions. He liked control. And over time, the jokes turned sharper. "You spend more time with that watch than real people. Maybe if you focused on something useful, you wouldn't be so awkward. Boys your age should be working, not playing with toys." My mom would sometimes tell him to stop, but not strongly. Just soft little things like, "Greg, leave him alone." Then she'd change the subject, and Greg would smile, because he knew he'd already won. By the time I turned 18, things had gotten worse. Greg had moved fully into the house, and slowly, the house stopped feeling like mine. He changed everything: furniture, rules, schedules, even the way we ate dinner. Phones off the table, lights out by 11. No locking doors. He said it was about respect, but it felt more like surveillance. He watched everything, and if something didn't fit his idea of discipline, he made sure you knew it. My mom stayed quiet most of the time, not because she agreed, but because Greg had a way of making arguments feel exhausting. He'd talk louder, longer, stronger, until everyone else just gave up. I learned to stay invisible: school, homework, part-time job at an electronics store, and my watch. I used it constantly: timers, notifications, fitness tracking. Greg hated that most. Look at him checking his pulse again. He'd laugh during dinner. "Scared your heart might stop without permission?" One night he grabbed my wrist and held it up. "Explain this thing to me," he said. "It tracks health metrics," I said calmly. "Heart rate, GPS, emergency alerts." Greg snorted. "You think this toy will save you if something happens?" "It might," I said. "Big mistake." He laughed so hard he almost spilled his drink. "Kid, if something serious happens, no watch is going to help you." He pointed out his chest. "You survive with strength, not gadgets." I just nodded. But inside, something about the way he said that stuck with me. because Greg liked proving people wrong, and he especially liked proving me wrong. The night everything changed started like any other. Rain outside, wind hitting the windows. My mom was working a late shift at the hospital. Greg was home, watching TV in the living room. I came downstairs around 10 to grab a bottle of water. He looked at me from the couch. "Where are you going?" "Kitchen. You were upstairs all evening. Homework." Greg muted the TV. "You kids always have excuses." I didn't respond. That irritated him more than arguing. "Let me see that watch again," he said. I hesitated, then held out my wrist. He grabbed it, turned it over, pressed buttons randomly. "What's this one do?" "Emergency alert." "And this?" "Location sharing." "And this?" "It records activity." Greg leaned back. "Ridiculous." Then he stood. "Come downstairs with me?" I frowned. "Why?" "Just come." Something about his tone made my stomach tighten, but I followed him anyway. He walked toward the basement door. The basement in our house was unfinished. Concrete walls, old furnace, storage boxes, bare light bulbs. I didn't like going down there. Greg opened the door. "Go ahead." "Why?" "I want to show you something." I hesitated again, then stepped down the stairs. The air was cold, damp. The light flickered when he turned it on. Greg walked behind me, hands in his pockets. "Stand over there," he said. I moved near the workbench. Then I heard it. The click. The basement door shutting. Then the deadbolt sliding. My chest tightened instantly. "Greg." Silence. Then his voice through the door, calm, amused. "Relax." "Why did you lock it?" "Just proving a point." "What point?" His laugh echoed through the door. "Let's see if your little toy watch saves you now." My stomach dropped. Greg opened the door. "Good night." Footsteps. Walking away. At first I thought it was a joke. A stupid one, but still a joke. I knocked on the door. "Greg." No answer. I knocked harder. "Greg, seriously." Nothing. Then I tried the handle. Locked. Completely locked. I checked my pockets. No phone. I'd left it charging upstairs. Of course. My heart started beating faster. The basement suddenly felt colder, quieter. I looked up at the ceiling. "Greg," I yelled. No response. Minutes passed. Then 20. Then 40. Still nothing. That's when the fear really started creeping in. Because Greg wasn't the type to forget something like this. He had locked the door on purpose. And he was perfectly capable of leaving me there all night. Or longer. I looked around the basement. No windows. Just concrete walls. Old shelves. A furnace. My breathing started getting shallow. Then my watch vibrated. A small alert. High heart rate. I stared at it. Then suddenly remembered something. The emergency feature. If you held the side button for 5 seconds, it sent a silent distress signal, location, heart rate, and an automated message to emergency contacts. I had set it up months earlier, just in case. I looked toward the door. Still silent. Then back at my wrist. Greg thought it was a toy. He had laughed at it, mocked it, locked me in a basement to prove it was useless. I slowly pressed the button. 1 second, 2, 3, 4, 5. The watch vibrated twice. So as sent, my emergency contact list was small. My mom, my best friend Tyler, and local emergency services. Now all I could do was wait and hope someone believed the alert was real. The basement got colder as the night went on. My breathing slowed. My legs started shaking. Every sound felt louder. Dripping pipes, wind against the house, the furnace clicking on and off. Hours passed. At least it felt like hours. I sat against the wall, watching the time on my watch. 12:03 a.m., 12:47 a.m., 1:26 a.m. Then, at 2:11, I heard something upstairs. Voices, muffled, then a loud knock. Another, then shouting. Greg's voice, angry, confused, then a new voice. "Police, open the door." My heart slammed against my ribs. Greg started yelling. Something about a mistake. The officers didn't care. Another shout, then a crash. The sound of the front door breaking open. Heavy footsteps inside the house. "Check the property." More footsteps, running. Then someone near the basement door. Locked. Metal tools scraping. Then bang. The door burst open. Light flooded the basement. 2 police officers rushed down the stairs. One of them looked at me. "You okay?" I nodded weakly. They helped me up. And that's when I saw Greg behind them, standing in the hallway, pale, frozen, looking at my wrist, looking at the watch, like he had just realized something terrible. But the real problem for Greg started later, because the smartwatch didn't just send an SOS, it had recorded everything. My elevated heart rate, my location, the exact time the basement door was locked, and the audio. His voice, clear, laughing. "Let's see if that little toy watch saves you now." The police played it back in the living room. Greg stopped smiling after that. Charges followed quickly. False imprisonment, endangerment, and a few other things his lawyer tried desperately to argue. My mom filed for divorce within a month. I moved out shortly after. Sometimes people ask if I still wear that smartwatch. I do, every day. Because Greg was right about one thing. Sometimes survival does come down to strength. But sometimes, strength is knowing exactly when to press one small button and letting the truth do the rest. He thought the watch was a toy. Turns out, it was the only reason I'm alive.